My beloved child, the moment you pressed play, a divine shift began moving toward you with a force that cannot be stopped, and what I'm about to reveal will shake the deepest layers of your spirit. Listen closely, because this message is not about hatred, conflict, or real-life accusations. This is a revelation about the energies, the intentions, and the hidden emotional storms connected to someone who stands in the role of a sister in your life, whether by blood, by bond, or by spiritual connection. For too long, there has been a weight on your soul, a pressure your heart could feel even when your mind tried to ignore it. God has watched you carry this silently, and now, finally, the truth is rising like a storm that won't wait for anyone's permission. Something huge is waiting for you, and as this truth unfolds, you will feel every second of it pulling you deeper, making you unable to scroll away, because the moment of awakening is standing right in front of you. There is a side of your sister, her fears, her hidden burdens, the jealousy she never spoke about, the pain she tried to hide, the decisions she made that are now returning to the surface, that heaven is preparing to expose, not to shame her, but to free you. This exposure is a spiritual unveiling, a divine spotlight revealing what has been emotionally blocking your path, and God is clearing this blockage in a way that will change the next chapter of your life. You are stepping into the moment where the masks fall, where truth no longer whispers but roars, where what was done in silence can no longer stay buried. And as you keep listening, the revelation will rise stronger, sharper and more undeniable, because heaven has decided that you will no longer walk in confusion. My chosen one, there is a shift in the spiritual realm, a divine exposure so powerful it feels like the air around you is vibrating with unspoken truth. This message is meant to reach the deepest part of your story, the chapter you never discuss, the wound you cover with strength but still feel burning under the surface. The sister figure in your life, whether she is older, younger, close, distant, or someone who once felt like family, has been carrying two sides, one seen, one hidden. And now, the hidden side is being pulled into the light by God Himself. This exposure isn't about her downfall, it's about your freedom. You felt the imbalance, the strange moments where her energy didn't match her words, the silent competition, the unexplained tension, the emotional weight that made you question your own intuition. Heaven has been watching how this dynamic has shaped your path, how it drained your spirit, how it held you back from your destiny, and now God is intervening with a force that cannot be reversed. Something huge is waiting for you, and as this unveiling begins, the truth will feel shocking, surprising, and powerful, exactly the kind of once-in-a-lifetime revelation that pulls the audience deeper into the divine story unfolding before them. This exposure will reveal intentions you never expected, emotions you never saw, and choices she made that are finally catching up. But hear this clearly, God is not exposing her to destroy her. He is exposing her to liberate you from cycles you were never meant to carry. Every second you listen, you will feel the spiritual curtain lifting higher, revealing what was hidden behind years of silence. My radiant soul, pay attention, because this part of the message carries the sharpest edge, the deepest emotional truth, the kind of revelation that makes your heart beat faster because you can feel it aligning with everything you sensed but never had proof for. Your sister. Whether defined by blood, bond, or shared chapters of your life, has reached a point in her spiritual journey where her hidden intentions, buried emotions, and unspoken struggles can no longer remain unseen. God is exposing the truth, not to harm her, but to protect you. For so long, she carried envy wrapped in affection, fear wrapped in advice, and insecurity wrapped in concern. She didn't know how to express her own wounds, so they leaked into your path, your dreams, your opportunities. What you thought was coincidence was actually spiritual interference. What you thought was bad timing was actually emotional projection. What you thought was distance was actually silent comparison. And now, the divine spotlight is turning everything transparent. Something huge is waiting for you, and this exposure is the beginning of your rise. God is lifting you out of cycles where your light was dimmed, where your blessings were delayed, where your growth was held hostage by emotional energy that wasn't even yours. You are stepping into a moment where the truth becomes your protection, where clarity becomes your armor, where divine justice becomes your foundation. The next part of this message will reveal what happens after this exposure, what God is preparing for you, and how this truth will open the doors you were meant to walk through long before this interference touched your life. A blessing is unfolding, 333, flowing toward your spirit as the divine prepares your next chapter. My beloved child. The moment the previous part ended, the spiritual atmosphere around you shifted again, heavier, deeper, more intense, as if heaven itself leaned closer to ensure you don't miss a single drop of what is being revealed. The exposure that began in part 1 was only the surface. Now you are walking into the deeper chamber of truth, the place where God unfolds the details that were hidden beneath layers of silence, emotion, and spiritual weight. Something huge is waiting for you, and this moment right now is the bridge between what you felt for years and what you are finally about to understand. Your sister, this presence in your life, whether linked by blood or by emotional closeness, has been carrying a shadow she never intended to show. For months, even years, she walked with this inner conflict, torn between loving you and feeling threatened by your light, between wanting you close and fearing your growth, between protecting you and secretly competing with the path God chose for you. And now, the divine exposure is unfolding with such clarity that nothing can hide behind excuses, misunderstandings, or emotional fog anymore. God is revealing the intentions she whispered behind your back spiritually, the fears she carried that shaped her reactions, the insecurities that made her treat you in ways that always left you confused. It wasn't that she hated you, it was that she couldn't understand how effortlessly chosen you are. Your growth triggered the wounds she never healed, and your destiny awakened the shadows she refused to face. This message is heaven's intervention, pulling you out of cycles where emotional loyalty blinded your vision. As the exposure grows sharper, the truth becomes impossible to ignore. She is stepping into a season where everything she hid, her emotions, her choices, her intentions, is coming into the light. Not to punish her, but to release you. The spiritual ties that once restricted your blessings are being cut. A blessing is rising, 333, moving toward you with the energy of long-awaited freedom. My cherished soul, the truth is not stopping here, it is expanding like a storm finally breaking open after being held back for too long. Something huge is waiting for you, and you can feel it in the rhythm of the air around you as this message pours into your spirit. The exposure coming upon your sister is a spiritual unveiling of her own inner battles, and God is allowing this so you can finally see the difference between support and subtle suppression, between affection and emotional projection, between love and the kind of silent envy people carry when they do not know how to heal their own wounds. For years, she sensed your rise before you even understood it yourself. She felt the calling on your life long before you knew what it meant. And instead of celebrating this divine favor, she reacted with fear, a fear that made her withdraw, compare, doubt, and distance herself in ways that emotionally confused you. Heaven witnessed how often you questioned yourself, how many times you wondered why her energy changed, how deeply you felt the shift even when no words were spoken. And now God is stepping in, revealing the spiritual truth behind every moment that left you feeling unsure, unseen, or misunderstood. Your sister is entering a phase where she can no longer hide the emotions she suppressed. Her jealousy, her guilt, her protectiveness, her comparisons, her regrets, they are rising to the surface all at once. This exposure isn't meant to break her, it's meant to cleanse the path ahead of you. God is clearing away every emotional blockage that was never yours to carry. In this divine unveiling, your spirit is reclaiming its strength, your heart is reclaiming its clarity, and your destiny is reclaiming its momentum. The truth is unlocking something that has been stuck for far too long, and as it unfolds, heaven is releasing a blessing upon your spirit, a powerful flow of divine light. 333, preparing your next chapter. My chosen one. What comes next is the part that will hit the deepest, because it reveals the reason God chose to expose this at this exact moment in your life. Something huge is waiting for you, and the divine timing of this exposure is not random, it is intentional, precise, unstoppable. You are entering a season where major doors are about to open, doors of elevation, opportunities, relationships, alignment, spiritual clarity, and abundance. But these doors could not open fully while your spirit was still tied to emotional confusion connected to your sister's hidden energy. God needed you free, free to receive, free to rise, free to step into the identity heaven prepared for you long before you were even aware of your destiny. The exposure happening to your sister is making her face the truth of her own actions, her own shadow, her own unspoken emotions. It will push her toward healing, honesty, and transformation. But more importantly, it will free you from the subtle doubts, the silent guilt, the emotional weight you carried because of her energy. You are walking into a chapter where your blessings cannot be delayed, where your purpose cannot be dimmed, where your spiritual clarity cannot be clouded. God is revealing everything now because your breakthrough requires emotional purity, spiritual clarity, and unblocked pathways. The power rising around you is immense, and you will feel it unfolding in the days to come. The truth is not here to harm you, it is here to elevate you. The exposure is not to shame her, it is to free you. And as this revelation settles into your spirit, a divine blessing, 333, descends upon your path, preparing the ground for what comes next. My beloved child. The deeper you move into this message, the heavier the divine truth becomes, wrapping itself around your spirit like a revelation that refuses to be ignored. You've reached the part where the exposure God is bringing upon your sister begins to unfold not just spiritually, but emotionally, in ways that connect directly with the experiences you've been carrying inside you for far too long. Something huge is waiting for you, and in this moment the truth is forming like lightning in the sky. Bright, undeniable, impossible to turn away from. Your sister, whether she has been physically close, emotionally distant, or silently watching your journey, is about to face the internal storm she postponed for years. For so long, she hid behind calm words and quiet smiles while suppressing emotions that tangled her heart with confusion, jealousy, fear, guilt, and unspoken comparisons. Heaven allowed her silence to stretch only until the moment you were ready to see clearly, and now the curtain is being pulled back with a force that leaves no room for misunderstanding. God is exposing her, not to embarrass, not to punish, but to reveal how deeply your destiny was affected by her inner battles. Every time your path slowed, there was a silent emotional weight coming from her. Every time you felt drained for no reason, it was the energy she projected without even realizing it. Every time you questioned yourself, it wasn't your spirit, it was her shadow brushing against your light. But now God is exposing every hidden layer so your soul can rise without the burden of someone else's emotional storms. This exposure marks the beginning of your release. It marks the clearing of spiritual fog that lingered for too long. Something huge is waiting for you, and this truth is preparing your spirit to step into it without hesitation and without guilt. My cherished soul. This is where the revelation deepens, not into drama, but into the emotional reality God is revealing so you can finally breathe freely. Your sister is going to experience a moment of confrontation with her own reflection, not a physical confrontation, but a spiritual one. The guilt she ignored, the comparisons she justified, the mistakes she hid, the insecurities she fed in silence, these are rising to the surface in her life like tides that can no longer be held back. God is positioning her to face the truth of how her internal struggles affected the bond between you. She never intended to hurt you, but her pain overflowed into your journey. She never planned to block your blessings, but her energy created spiritual tension around you. She never meant to delay your path, but her fear pushed you into emotional hesitation. And heaven watched it all, not with anger, but with patience, knowing the perfect moment would come to untangle everything. That moment is now. Something huge is waiting for you, and your spirit can feel the shift in every word being spoken. This exposure will push her into growth, into honesty, into healing, and into transformation. But more significantly, it will free you from every unspoken burden her shadow created. God is realigning your path, untangling your energy, and separating your destiny from the emotional threads that weren't yours to carry. You will feel lighter. You will feel clearer. You will feel awakened. The release has already begun, and as this exposure continues, the divine prepares a new chapter where your light is no longer dimmed by someone else's pain. The bond between you may transform, heal, or distance, but whatever the result, it will be aligned with God's purpose for your growth. And as this truth settles, a blessing flows into your spirit, a divine alignment unfolding like destiny correcting its own course. My chosen one, this part of the message carries the shift that changes everything. You are moving into a season where God is no longer allowing emotional interference, confusion, or hidden intentions to mix with your blessings. Something huge is waiting for you, and this exposure is the final clearing before your elevation begins. Your sister is going to confront the truth she avoided for years. The truth about her own choices, her own emotions, her own role in the spiritual tension that surrounded you. This will humble her, awaken her, and push her into self-reflection in ways she cannot escape. She will see the moments where she should have supported you with purity but instead reacted from insecurity. She will recognize the times she spoke out of fear instead of love. She will finally understand how heavily her suppressed emotions weighed on your path. And through this divine exposure, she will be forced to grow, to heal, to transform, and to stand in a higher truth. But the most powerful part is what this means for you. God is clearing your atmosphere, opening your path, strengthening your spirit, and preparing you for blessings that were delayed but never denied. The interference is being removed. The emotional fog is lifting. The spiritual blockage is dissolving. You are about to rise into clarity, abundance, alignment, and divine purpose with a strength you've never felt before. Your story is shifting, your destiny is awakening, and your spirit is being prepared for the breakthrough that has been waiting for you all along. The exposure of your sister is the final step before your elevation begins. And as this truth takes root, a blessing descends upon your path, surrounding you with divine protection and spiritual clarity as you prepare for the next revelation ahead. My beloved child, the moment you stepped into this part, heaven intensified the revelation, thickening the atmosphere around you with a truth so heavy and so divine that your spirit can feel it before your mind fully understands it. Something huge is waiting for you, and in this moment the truth is unfolding like a prophecy breaking open. This is the part where God reveals not just what is happening around your sister, but why this exposure had to come now, why this chapter was hidden for so long, and why heaven has chosen you to receive this message at this very second. Your sister, whether bound to you by family, by history, or by emotional depth, has been moving through a season of internal conflict so intense that it created vibrations in the spiritual realm. She suppressed emotions for years, hiding jealousy behind laughter, burying insecurities beneath concern, masking fears behind advice, covering guilt behind silence. But what she didn't realize was that suppressed emotions do not disappear, they crystallize, they expand, they press against the spirit until they rise to the surface. God allowed her to go through this silently because it wasn't time yet. But now, your destiny is calling louder than her wounds. Your breakthrough is closer than her shadows. Your blessings are stronger than her fears. And God is exposing everything so your path can finally be cleared. As this exposure rises, it will become impossible for her to hide her true feelings, impossible for her to ignore her inner truth, and impossible for her to pretend that nothing was ever wrong. This unveiling isn't meant to break her, it is meant to break the chains that have been holding you back. The divine exposure is here to release your spirit, realign your journey, and prepare you for the elevation that has been waiting for you like a prophecy unfulfilled. My shining soul, this moment is where the emotional truth behind everything becomes impossible to breathe past. Something huge is waiting for you, and as God exposes your sister's hidden heart, the clarity that hits you will feel like a flood of recognition. You have always sensed the tension, the distance, the unspoken heaviness, the strange shifts in energy, the moments she acted differently without explanation. You felt it in your spirit even when nothing was said. You are spiritually sensitive, connected, intuitive, and your intuition has been whispering to you about her for years. But you doubted yourself because you loved her. You dismissed the signs because you didn't want to believe them. You carried emotional loyalty even when her energy conflicted with your peace. Heaven saw it all. And now God is lifting the veil so you can finally understand what your spirit was trying to tell you all along. Your sister's exposure is not an attack, it is a revelation that frees you from confusion, from guilt, from emotional fog, from spiritual interference. She is going to face a wave of truth in her own life that forces her to confront what she hid. The choices she made out of insecurity, the words she said from fear, the emotions she projected unconsciously, all of it will rise before her like a mirror she cannot turn away from. But hear this clearly, God is exposing her because the bond between you is about to transform. Either healing will come, honesty will rise, and the relationship will strengthen. Or distance will be created so you can grow without emotional restraint. Either way, God is placing your destiny first. Your spirit is stepping into a chapter where the truth becomes your foundation. And as the exposure intensifies, a blessing flows toward you, aligning your path with divine timing and spiritual purity. My chosen one, this part holds the divine shift that prepares you for everything coming next. Something huge is waiting for you, and the exposure of your sister is the final sign that your breakthrough season has begun. God is removing every invisible chain, every emotional blockage, every lingering shadow, every silent competition, and every spiritual weight that was attached to her suppressed feelings. Your path is being cleared with an intensity that nothing can resist. In the days ahead, you will begin to feel a sudden freedom in your spirit. Like you can breathe deeper, think clearer, move faster, rise higher. This is because God is disconnecting you from energy that was never meant to shape your destiny. Your sister's exposure will push her into growth, but it will push you into elevation. The clarity coming your way will guide you into new opportunities, new connections, new purpose, and new blessings that have been waiting behind a door her energy once blocked. And as God realigns your journey, He covers you with a blessing so powerful it surrounds your steps like divine armor. Your rise begins now, your clarity begins now, your release begins now. A blessing flows upon your spirit, shifting the atmosphere around you as heaven prepares you for the revelation that comes next. My beloved child, as you enter this part, the revelation transforms into something even deeper, more intense, more spiritually precise. Because now heaven is showing you not just what your sister hid, but how God is turning this exposure into a doorway for your elevation. Something huge is waiting for you, and every second you stay with this message pulls you closer to the breakthrough that has been circling your life for years. God is exposing your sister's hidden emotions, not to shame her, but to remove the final layer of spiritual weight that has quietly followed you through every chapter. She has been carrying storms she never knew how to release. Every wound she avoided became a shadow. Every insecurity she buried became a wall. Every moment she compared herself to you became a seed that grew without her consent. And that silent energy attached itself to your journey, not because she wished you harm, but because she didn't know how to heal herself. But now the divine spotlight is removing every veil. Her emotional truth is rising with a force she can no longer push down. And as God brings this truth into the light, He is removing every hidden influence that ever slowed your blessing, dimmed your clarity, or clouded your spirit. You are stepping into a season where nothing and no one can interfere with your destiny again. Her exposure is your release. Her awakening is your freedom. Her transformation is your elevation. Something huge is waiting for you, and you are finally aligned with it. My cherished soul. This revelation goes even further, into the part of your story where God begins rewriting the emotional patterns between you two. When someone carries unhealed wounds, it leaks into the bond, the energy, the atmosphere, the subtle interactions that shape the connection. Your sister, this emotional presence in your life, has been battling identity wounds, comparison chains, abandonment fears, and hidden guilt. She didn't know how to process any of it, so she carried it silently while trying to appear strong. But silence doesn't heal, it grows heavier. And that heaviness reached you in ways you didn't fully understand, moments where her behavior felt off, where her support felt inconsistent, where her love felt wrapped in tension. Heaven allowed you to feel the imbalance because your spirit is sensitive, intuitive, chosen. You sensed the shifts even when she pretended everything was fine. But now God is tearing down the invisible walls between truth and illusion. The exposure coming upon her is making everything transparent, every insecurity, every regret, every fear, every unspoken comparison. This will transform her, but more importantly, it will free you. Something huge is waiting for you, and this freedom is the final step before your elevation unfolds without resistance. God is cleansing the atmosphere around your destiny, removing every emotional shadow that wasn't yours to carry. You will begin to feel lighter, clearer, stronger, more spiritually awakened, because heaven has lifted the energy that once weighed your path down. This exposure is divine surgery, cutting away everything that does not belong in your next chapter. My chosen one, now listen closely, because this is the part where God reveals the purpose behind all of it. Something huge is waiting for you, and your sister's exposure is the signal that your breakthrough season is officially unlocked. The divine timing is perfect, your blessings are aligned, your path is opening, your destiny is rising. But God could not allow you to step into this next chapter while your spirit was still tied to someone else's unhealed emotions. The exposure is heaven's way of breaking every spiritual tie that held you back. Your sister is going to face her own truth, her own shadows, her own inner conflict. She will be pushed into healing, into humility, into awareness. But you are being pushed into elevation. The divine shift happening around you will bring opportunities that align with your calling, clarity that wipes away years of confusion, blessings that arrive with divine accuracy, and strength that rises from places inside you that were once buried beneath emotional weight. The exposure marks the end of delay and the beginning of acceleration. You are stepping into a phase where God's hand will be visible in every area of your life. Your spirit is being lifted, your path is being cleared, your destiny is being set free. And as this revelation settles into your heart, a powerful blessing flows over you like divine light, surrounding you with protection, alignment, and spiritual elevation.